All right, let's get into the incredible story behind some of the most iconic planes you'll ever see, the Airbus wide-body jets. We're talking about everything from a super clever family concept that completely shook up the market, all the way to a super jumbo dream that, well, aimed for the absolute sky. It's a story of huge ambition, amazing innovation, and some pretty harsh realities. You've totally done this, right? You're at the airport or maybe just out and about, and you see one of these absolute behemoths cutting through the clouds. And you just gotta wonder, these things are so much more than just machines. They're the result of brilliant ideas, massive gambles, and sometimes the market just not going the way you thought it would. So today, we're going to unpack that whole story.
So where did this all start? Well, Airbus's journey into the world of these giant jets didn't begin with just a single plane. Nope, it started with an idea, a concept so clever it would literally change the game for airlines all over the world.
Okay, picture this. It's the 1970s. The skies are pretty much owned by American giants like Boeing and McDonnell Douglas. Airbus? They're the new kid on the block, a European upstart trying to find a way in. They knew they couldn't just build another plane. They had to offer something completely different, something that would fundamentally change the economics of flying for the airlines.
And this was their brilliant answer. Instead of just selling planes, they sold a family. They designed the A300 and its shorter sibling, the A310, to share the same DNA. Think about it, similar flight decks, the same engines, tons of shared parts. But what does that actually mean for an airline?
Well, it was a total game changer. An airline could now use the bigger A300 for its busiest routes and the smaller A310 for thinner ones, all while using the exact same group of pilots. Because of this thing called a common type rating, a pilot trained on one could fly the other with almost no extra training. Throw in shared parts and engines for the maintenance crews, and you know what that adds up to? Huge, massive cost savings for the airlines. This move, right here, put Airbus on the map.
So, after that early success, Airbus decided to think bigger. I mean, much, much bigger. And that brings us to their most ambitious project ever, a plane that would totally capture the public's imagination like nothing else, the A380 Super Jumbo.
You see, for decades, the Boeing 747 was the undisputed queen of the skies. Everyone knew it. So Airbus decided, you know what, it's time to challenge the throne. The A380 was built from the ground up to be the new king. Bigger, more modern, and way more efficient. It was designed to carry more people than any plane in history. And if you want to understand just how ambitious this was, just look at this one number, 868. That's how many passengers an A380 could theoretically carry if an airline packed it with only economy seats. It's just a staggering number, almost 35% more than its biggest rival, the 747. But, making a dream that big a reality, it costs a lot. We're talking about a colossal $25 billion investment from Airbus to develop the A380. It was an enormous gamble, betting the entire company's future on the idea that air travel would be all about bigger planes flying between massive hub cities.
And you know what? For passengers, it was a total revolution, especially if you were lucky enough to fly up front. The sheer size, those 2 full decks, gave airlines the freedom to install things you'd only see in a luxury hotel. I'm talking full-service bars, lounges, and yes, for real, even onboard shower suites. It's no wonder it became a huge passenger favorite.
So, you've got this engineering marvel, passengers absolutely love it. Sounds like a recipe for success, right? Well, this is where the story takes a really sharp turn. Because the very thing that made the A380 so special, its unbelievable size, also became its biggest weakness. See, Airbus bet everything on this hub-and-spoke model. The idea was pretty simple. Fly gigantic numbers of people into major hubs like Dubai or London, and then they'd hop on smaller connecting flights to get to their final destination. The A380 was the perfect plane for that world. But the world, and how we all travel, was already changing. Instead of flying through a huge hub, people started wanting to fly directly from city to city. Think flying from, say, Austin straight to Amsterdam, instead of Austin to Dallas and then to Amsterdam. This point-to-point model didn't need a super jumbo. It needed smaller, more nimble, and incredibly fuel-efficient twin-engine jets, like Airbus's very own A350. The A380 was just too much plane for most routes.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The head of American Airlines, one of the biggest airlines in the world, said it perfectly. For most airlines, there just weren't enough routes where they could consistently fill 500-plus seats every single day to make the plane profitable.
The timeline really tells the whole dramatic story. It went from this spectacular public reveal in 2005 to Airbus announcing the end of production just 14 years later. By 2021, it was all over. The reign of the Super Jumbo was incredibly short. It was this masterpiece of engineering that, sadly, showed up just as the party it was built for was ending.
But hold on, the story is not over. There are still hundreds of these amazing jets flying all over the world. So for this last part, we're going to have some fun. We're going to turn you into an expert spotter, so you know exactly how to tell these giants apart the next time you're at an airport.
Seriously, next time you're at a big international airport, just look around. You're almost guaranteed to see one of these planes. And with just a few little tricks, you'll be able to point them out like a total pro.
Okay, first up, the easy one. Just count the engines. If you see 4 engines hanging off the wings, it's either an A340 or the mighty A380. So how do you tell them apart? The giveaway is the windows. The A340 is this long, really sleek single-decker. But if you see 2 full rows of windows, one on top of the other, stretching all the way down the plane, that's it. You're looking at the one and only A380. You literally can't mistake it for anything else.
All right, now for the twin-engine jets, the A330 and the A350. Here, the key differences are at the very tips of the wings and the cockpit. The older A330 has a pretty traditional straight-up-and-down winglet, but the newer A350 has these beautiful, elegant wingtips that just curve up gracefully. The other dead giveaway? Look at the cockpit windows. The A350 has this super cool masked look, like it's wearing a pair of black sunglasses. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
And here you go. This is your final cheat sheet. 4 simple rules. The A380, 2 decks of windows, can't miss it. The A340, 4 engines but only 1 deck. Then the A350, 2 engines, those cool curved wingtips, and the sunglasses cockpit. And if it's got 2 engines and straight winglets, that's your A330. Easy, right?
And all this kind of brings us to our final question. The story of the A380 and the A340, it shows a really clear shift away from these 4-engine giants and towards super efficient twin jets. So it makes you wonder, was this the magnificent peak of a certain kind of air travel? An era of giants that we might never see built again? It's definitely something to think about the next time you see one of those incredible machines soaring overhead.